Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the October NCyTE meeting. We'll let Steve Miller start us off.
Thanks, Mike, and welcome everyone. I'm Stephen Miller, and I'm a co-PI for the National Cybersecurity Training Education Center, and Michelle Robinson, our PI for NCyTE, and myself are attending the American Indian Science and Engineering Society conference. Over 2,000 students, about 1,000 different faculty and industry partners here. It's been a great, it started a couple days ago. It's been a great conference. Lots of interest in cyber from the students here. And we have our booth NCyTE, and we're actually going to be hosting tomorrow morning a workshop for a community of practice in cybersecurity for the Native American universities and colleges. So we'll keep you posted on that. And I would advise everyone to check ACEs out on your and see if you have any Native American students that want to participate in this program. It's a great program, and there's scholarships available. As I mentioned, there's probably over 1,000 industry partners internationally and nationally that support the ACES organization. So anyway, I'm going to turn this over. We have a great presentation coming up, and I'll let Mike take over for now, because our audio and visual is probably not that great, and I know my internet service coming from this conference is pretty weak. So thank you for attending, and I'll just be on standby. Thanks.
Thanks, Stephen, for attending ACES on behalf of NCyTE and all that you're doing out there. And thanks everybody here for attending today's membership meeting. It's going to be on the NCAE-C. If everybody knows what that means, that's the National Cybersecurity or Centers of Academic Excellence for Cybersecurity. We have a couple of really good speakers, but before we get there, I just want to remind everybody that we have, well, introduce yourself on the chat. This is going to be recorded. Please keep your microphones on mute. If you do have a question, there will be time for questions and answers. I'm going to let Professor Thomas and Professor Kelly kind of manage the Q&A. I'll be watching the chat, and we'll see how that works out. It works out different with each presenter, but use the chat to put your questions in there, so we make sure we get to all that. And there will be more time for questions at the end. And as I mentioned, it will be recorded. For right now, though, it'd be nice just to introduce yourself in the chat, just who you are, where you're from, maybe why you're attending today, or what the weather's like. So just this is a great opportunity to network with individuals. We have people from across the United States who are attending the workshop today and who will be looking at the recording later on. Thank you again for attending. Right now, NCyTE has 439 member institutions. We're covering 47 states and Puerto Rico. We have over 7,500 individual contacts. So we're always building that network. We're looking at the K-12, we're looking at the community college, and we're looking at the university industry pipeline. We really want to build up the workforce cybersecurity pipeline. So we're on the education side of things. So that's where our focus has been. So we have lots of workshops and opportunities for faculty, for students that we offer throughout the year. So if you're not already a member, please join. If you're not already receiving the newsletter, we send out a newsletter once a month that kind of updates what new opportunities are available. So that could range from anything from stipends to attend a conference. We sent a bunch of people to the NICE conference last year. We've also helped fund people to attend workshops, and we've for curriculum development. And these are opportunities that we really want to share with everybody across the community. So it's a lot of information we want to share back and forth. Be part of the cybersecurity community. We're one part of it. Please join us. And it's nice to see a lot of familiar names out there today. So it's easy to join. Just go to our webpage, hit the membership information, and then just fill out the application. You can also keep up to date with us on Facebook. We need to put a new logo there for X, formerly known as Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and of course our NCyTE website. So I'm going to turn it over now to our speakers, Professor Kelly Bergen and Professor Thomas Hill. They're going to talk to you today, and I'll let them introduce themselves. And I'll share you, Thomas. You'll have ability to share screen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Hill, and I should be sharing my screen now. All right. So my name is Thomas Hill. I am an assistant professor here at Montreat College. I'm also one of the grant managers working on our ethics and professionalism development toolkit. And I'm excited to share the work that we've been doing with you all, or with what we've been doing, to share it with you all, to discuss maybe ways that you all could come alongside us, provide feedback, be a part of this as well, because this is something that we believe will be beneficial to everyone, industry as well as institution. So this is Ethics and Professionalism for Students, Code of Honor, Embracing Ethical Integrity in Cybersecurity. And you may be asking, why a toolkit? So the need for ethical professionals in our field is great, but we have to work on building them. We'll have people from all sorts of walks of life with all ideas and goals in cybersecurity. And we want to build, as much as we train them on tools, as much as we train them on policies, procedures, and how to do X, Y, and Z within the field, we have to train them on being ethical, being moral, who's watching them when no one's watching them kind of deal. So the toolkit makes this an achievable goal. It makes cybersecurity more approachable, it makes it teachable, it makes it applicable. It makes making ethical professionals something that is doable, regardless of industry or institution. A tool is a tool, a screwdriver is a screwdriver. And what we like about this toolkit and how we're making it is it should be applicable to whatever it is that you all are teaching, whatever it is that you're looking for within professionals. And to this end, we've created various tools, and we're developing more and more tools to go into this toolkit, but these are some of the things that we have in it currently. So we have the cybersecurity oath and a code of conduct, which the code of conduct, I believe, has been shared to you all. We have case studies that we are adding to it as well. We're building cyber competitions that we're hoping will be out of the box kind of deal, as well as a finishing school. So a workshop essentially that really solidifies the concepts and what it means to be an ethical professional in this field before they're kind of unleashed into the world, so to speak. We also have links to other projects that are being done, as well as other resources that we believe will be beneficial in making that well-rounded professional. We all in the field understand that cybersecurity is not something that can be done on an island. And so we want to promote and we want to share the great works that everyone else is doing as well. And so we provided that in our links folder as well. And we give an entire professionalism and ethics course. So this is a 16-week course that is given to you. The material already built out, instructor guides and things of that nature that you can take, you can implement, you can add to it, you can pick and choose something to bolster building professionalism and ethics within the students, as well as supplemental material to help students understand things, maybe difficult concepts, things to look for, things to help them along their journey, workshops for outreach, for on-campus activities, just things that can help demonstrate, competencies, which kind of leads into my last one. Competencies bridging the gap between what we have, in the educational world to the workforce. So I want to talk a little bit more in depth about it. Our cybersecurity oath is something that we've developed that aligns with the cyber ethics book that we are coming out with early February of 2024. Will include case studies as well as going into each of the tenets a bit further. We encourage our students to sign the oath. We encourage them that they hold themselves to a higher standard. The oath itself is something you can put on the wall, something you should feel proud of, something that you should feel you can stand by. And this is available at the cybersecurityoath.com, which we have a link to in this presentation as well. Now, this differs a bit from the Student Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. So if you're curious about seeing the conduct, the professional code and conduct, as I go through it in this next slide, the link is there on the screen, but I also included a QR code, and I promise it is just the link that you see on the screen. That's why I included it. You can trust it. Ethics, professionalism, that's all what we're about here. So if you want to scan it and open up the document and just kind of follow along with me on this next slide, which has the QR code there. Again, I promise it goes straight to that link unless someone's tampered with it between yesterday and today. But these are the principles that we expect students to uphold. So respect not just for themselves, but for the people around them and for the industry that they're in. Professionalism, we want our students to be professional. We want them to treat everyone with respect. We want them to be able to communicate what they do, how they do it to their bosses, to their team members, to whatever the group is. Confidentiality. We deal in an industry where we have a lot of trust with a lot of sensitive data, or even just trade secrets. We expect our students to hold appropriate data confidential and be accountable for their actions. That goes in line with professionalism. If you mess up on the job, say you mess up. We can work through that, but don't try to hide it, right? Collaboration. This field is a community, and it's one of the things that I love the most about cybersecurity. We want our students to contribute. We want them to work alongside others and give them proper credit, right? Attribution. We want them to not take the work from other people, but to, give them their credit. And we like to build lifelong learners. So we label that as continuous learning, but it's the curiosity in our field, right? We are in this field because we love to learn, we love to do, we love to try. And we want to not only put that in our students, instill that in our students, but to continually encourage and to nurture that part of their character, because that's what turns a job to a career. And then, of course, reporting. That goes in line with professionalism. It goes in line with our ethics, right? Be accurate in your reporting, be true in your reporting, be true in how you handle the data. So to go a bit further into what we have in our toolkit, case studies. So this provides students the opportunity to work on their critical thinking as well as challenging their ideas of ethics. These were developed by a professor here, Dr. Wells, as well as Dr. Tippy, who also works in our cybersecurity department, on events that actually have happened. So they've gone out and talked to industry leaders, discuss the aftermath of incidences and things like that. And they've created these case studies that we have used in classes to discuss, what would your response be in this situation? And kind of look at the response that happened, read up on news articles, read up on the real world effects of these incidents. Of course, we change names, protect the innocent, change the industry names, protect that. But you should feel good because these case studies come from the people who actually experience this. This is firsthand accounts. And as new studies are developed and released, we will add more to the toolkit. So we look at the toolkit as a living, I would say document, but it's a living resource, right? Our goal is to continually build on it, continually make it better. And we would love to have more input on that as well. One of the things that I'm working on currently is the cyber competitions. So we all know cyber competitions are oftenly considered just technical, but the competitions that we want to build will bring professional and ethical challenges. So currently I'm developing these three, this capture the flag style challenge with an ethical challenge. So what happens if you're doing a CTF and you find files that are outside of the scope? What happens if you are doing a CTF and you find material that should not be included? How do you deal with those situations? With NetOps, so this is a challenge that I'm building. It's a level 1. I'm hoping to do with one of my classes, probably my sophomore level class. But this is more of an intro level competition to build professional skills using open source intelligent tools. How do you search for data? How do you get data ethically? How do you handle, manage, build your reports at a professional level that whoever is reading it will understand your intentions, will understand what you've done, will understand the value behind your work. And then a team ethics and professionalism challenge. So this will be a defense-focused challenge that is surrounding hardening systems. Your general check and score will give them some business injects. There'll be that expectation of documentation. They will be performing after action reports. They will be talking to the team. They'll be talking to their bosses, things like that. But what happens if your boss requests you to do something that is outside of the policy of the organization? What happens if your boss requests you to do something that is illegal? And if they tell you, if you don't do this, your employment might be in jeopardy. Those are the types of challenges we are giving our students alongside the technical challenges that come with these competitions. And our finishing school, we're building it as a 2-day workshop, and it should cover professionalism, ethics, resumes, and interviewing. Now, most everything in the toolkit can be modified, right? Our goal is to ensure students understand the value of professionalism and ethics within their chosen field, as well as how to communicate this through their resume and interviewing skills. So think solidifying the concepts and applicability to what they're trying to do. And that's the goal of the finishing school. We're building it as a 2-day workshop, but the goal is that if you want to use it, use it. Or if you want to add to it, add to it. If you want to pick and choose, maybe drop some in your classes here and there, maybe as the conclusion of a course, by all means, do it. Our goal is to help make the community stronger. And that's all we have, links and supplemental material. So this is shortcuts to other resources that may be beneficial to your goals, may be beneficial to getting your students to understand the value of professionalism and ethics within the field, as well as supplemental materials, which is reserved for items that could be used to help meet or fill requirements at an institution or within the class. So currently we're developing a video series to help understand the categories of the NICE framework for students. Cybersecurity, we hear it all the time as kind of a buzzword. As I'll speak later in the presentation about, but getting students to understand the jobs that are really out there, the expectations within those jobs, the roles that you have to, play, really helps students in forging their own path and finding what they're passionate about, what they want to go into, and what they will dedicate and make their craft. And that's how you make career-long professionals. So the professionalism and ethics course is a 16-week course. We currently meet once a week, and it challenges students to find what they like to do, find their passion, right? Why they would like to do it, as well as helping them with professionalism and ethics, what that looks like within our field, resume building, and interview practicing. We find that if you allow students to, explore, find their passion within the field, they're more likely to, in their free time, build up the skills necessary to achieve those goals. And the professionalism and ethics course just helps them guide that passion. And so we include that whole course in our toolkit for you to look at, for you to go through, pull out materials that you think would be beneficial to you in your efforts, or modify it to serve your needs. So this was in most part developed by Professor Saadian, who we give a special thanks to in the toolkit because of all the work that he did on it. It's a really remarkable course. I'm currently teaching it. I've taught it in the past. I've shadowed it. I love teaching this course. It's great to see the light just kind of not go off, but just shine within students as we go through it. And we also include workshops. So these are excellent ways to build interest. It gives you exposure. You can use them as extracurricular activities at your institutions. You can even use them within the workforce, right? To make cyber known, because we're all in this field, whether we realize it or not. And so right now we have the groundwork for 6 workshops in the current version. There's 3 for college or geared towards college, and then 3 for high school, geared towards high school, which you can see on the screen here. These are great for outreach because we can do workshops, it can be a weekend thing, it could be a week-long thing, it could be an evening thing over a period of days. We build it just as a 1-day, 2-session workshop, but feel free to expand on it. Feel free to add things. If you want to do a day of teaching it and then a day of, practicing it, then by all means do that. We just want to make this feel way more approachable and build this community up ethically, morally, professionally as possible. So competencies. This is something that we feel connects really well with what we're doing. So professionalism and ethics plus competencies equals the well-rounded professional. But you may be asking, what's a competency? This was defined by Dr. Nessler and Dr. Fowler, who are working on another grant. So be sure to support them as well. But a competency is defined as the ability for the individual to complete a task or task within the context of a work role. So this relates back to understanding the NICE framework, understanding the DCWF, looking at how what job role you're looking to go into, what abilities would you need to get there, how well can you complete tasks. So we include that in our toolkit because professionalism and ethics will get you in the door, but competencies is what's going to keep you around. It's what's going to allow you to progress. It's what's going to put you in those positions where you can truly make that change. It's also what's going to make you feel confident in your ability and your skills, because it's not just theoretical anymore. It's something you can describe, you can identify, you can point out. In many classes that I've talked about competencies, from my intro classes to even my senior level classes, when I have them go through and look at the actual job roles and look at the skills that's required for those job roles, their eyes widen, because they're now professional, ethical, professionals within this field, but they know how to bridge it from just academia to the workforce. And they feel way more ready to go into that interview and sit down and talk about the skills and the tools and everything that they've learned in a way that it's applicable to the workforce. So with that, that's everything going over to Toolkit. And I will now turn this over to my director and colleague, Professor Bergen.
Good morning or afternoon if you're on the East Coast. So I'm Kelly Bergen. I've been at Montreat since 2016 and I've been teaching in the cybersecurity program. We've been working on this grant from the National Center of Academic Excellence since 2020. And that's where a lot of these materials have been developed and are being finalized and refined and shared out. We're also part of the Careers Preparation National Center grant that's currently being managed by Norwich University. So our premise is that cybersecurity is not just technology. Cybersecurity requires more than technology tools. It requires great people. And if we have a lack of security in our systems, it's going to affect real people. And so that's some of the premise of our case study. So what I'm going to do is actually show you, talk about a couple of premises that we had. I was the co-chair with Anna Carlin from Fullerton College. And we worked with a committee from the National Center of Academic Excellence Schools, who came up with a student code of conduct and student code of ethics and professional conduct this past spring and summer. And the final version was just distributed out in September. So I think that was a link that Thomas shared with you. It's shared out in the first part of the presentation. But one of the things that we talked about was being a continuous learner. And always developing competency in the field. How does that have to do with professionalism and ethics? Well, you have to show that you know the current best practices, that you can provide good service to your clients, to your business that you're working for. So you have to ensure that you're a continuous learner. And we stress that for our students, and I'm sure many of you do as well, that once you get your degree, your certificate, whatever it is your goal is, you're not done. You're still going to be learning because it's going to be changing so quickly in the field. We talked about respect as well. And these are the three factors that we included in our student version of the Code of Conduct. To treat others with respect and honesty, act in a legal and moral fashion regarding others, respect the laws and regulations that govern your profession, and do not engage in any activities that could be considered illegal or unethical. And so we've had schools respond with that code of conduct, and they have posted it. They've asked their students to sign off on it. It's slightly different than the cybersecurity oath, which was developed by the authors of the cybersecurity ethics book, which will be coming out in February. Those authors were Ed Scotus and the president of Montreat College, Dr. Paul Maurer. So we have one of our sources was our cybersecurity oath that was developed by internally by Montreat, but we developed one that is more focused on students specifically. One of the areas that we looked at was attribution, and Thomas mentioned that, and that we didn't want you to claim that some work that was done was yours if you didn't do it. And also that we addressed the generative language models. And so specifically, don't use AI to say that it was your paper when it wasn't written by you, and to make sure that you provide all of the sources that you've used, and only with permission from your professor, your school, et cetera, or your employer, that you not use it in a way that is considered unethical. If you don't have permission, you shouldn't be using it. So we did include those things as well. So there's a case study, and I believe Mike sent that out this morning. It's about a regional financial institution and a very realistic scenario. So this is an example of something with the case studies that are part of so the book also contains some case studies when it's published as a tool for people to understand the concepts. The cybersecurity oath is a table of contents for that book. So each of the tenets included in that cybersecurity oath will become a chapter in the book. So this is an example from, I believe, the first or second chapter that is considering a regional financial institution. So if you have a copy of that, that Mike sent, I'm going to just summarize it if you haven't had a chance to read through it. So our main characters, we have Brady and we have Drew, who are cyber analysts, and they're having a rough day. So they're on their way to work. Brady's on his way to work. He's already gotten some texts. He gets there. Drew is already there. And he says, I've been fielding nonstop calls since sunrise. Long story short, the day before they had discovered a possible breach and had thought they had contained it. However, the next day they realized they didn't find all of the issues. And so now it's blown up into a much bigger crisis. The CISO of the company, Kit, and the CIO, Catherine, are very nervous. I believe it says, breaking out into a cold sweat. You've had those mornings. I know many of you have, or you've witnessed those mornings. They've had a conference call with the MSSP that they hired last quarter to support them. And the early assessments are that the attacker has already exfiltrated names, addresses, social security numbers, account numbers, and balances of nearly 50,000 customers. The CIO and CISO are trying to remain calm. However, they realize this is bad. This is quite the damage, and they are going to have to provide a report, up the chain. So they are preparing to connect with their CEO and their communications director. And Catherine, who's the CISO, responds, Kit, people are going to lose their jobs over this, which is probably true. So as information is getting filtered out, they realize that they have caught probably the crack at the top of the dam. There was a lot more going on under the surface. And, Drew and Brady, the frontline workers, are really concerned, their own jobs might be in jeopardy. Well, the other side of the story is that a few miles away from this bank or this financial institution, an elderly widowed woman on a fixed income named Genevieve had answered an unusual call this morning about her bank and her bank account. A stranger who knew a lot of information about her asked her to verify her online banking information so they could address a problem with her account. Otherwise, she would be locked out of her account. She is, flustered by that, but she's thankful that this person had a very helpful attitude and was on top of it to get this issue fixed. So she gave him the information he needed, and hoping that would solve the issue, and not realizing that it really wasn't a helpful customer support person, but it was a scammer who had contacted her. So the scenario, I think, is pretty realistic in what we're seeing happening today, and that they are often prepared as soon as they've got the data to start using it to try to monetize the information they have before the entity that's had the breach even realizes that something is going on. So from a perspective of respect, we would ask students these questions. So when, and this would be discussion. So when a cybersecurity breach occurs, who are the people that are affected? And students generally come up with, Drew and Brady and the CISO and the CIO and, the people in the company. And then we've also shifted it by our scenario to Genevieve, this widow. And we talk about, who else? Well, there's a lot of people that might have had accounts compromised. There might have been a lot of calls going out to various businesses and individuals about their accounts on this particular morning. And they don't realize that it's a scammer. And so then we would ask, cyber professionals are tasked with protecting data and systems. How does protecting data and systems work to show respect to others? So we want to bring it from a professionalism, from an ethics perspective. We know this is what we're going to do. So how does that show that respect? And so we would discuss that with students. If you want to provide answers, you can drop them in the chat. I think, Thomas, you monitor the chat over here, see if there's anything coming through that. So as we, some additional questions, we might say outside of cybersecurity, consider a time when someone showed respect to another person. What does offering value or respect to another human look like? And just getting them to think about what kinds of things show that to people. And can you think of times when people did not value other people or didn't show them respect? And so our students would, try to come up with some ideas. This would be a class discussion or a group discussion, or it could be if you're doing it online, it could be a discussion board posting where you're responding back and forth. And then who was affected by the breach in the case study? Obviously we come up with all of the different people. In what ways was the response adequate or inadequate? Because we want to have them thinking from the perspective of you're becoming a cybersecurity professional. So this is, how would you respond? What would you do? And was it adequate? Was it inadequate? What would you do differently? What do you think they did okay? And so then the real world case study would go on to talk about the consequences. Well, of course, Genevieve's caller would go on to use that information to transfer $10,000 from her retirement account, causing significant financial hardship. In just a few short days, Kit, the CISO, would be asked to resign by the bank's leadership and board of directors. Fairly realistic consequences. Oops, I think I got the same slide twice. The MSSP would lose their contract and be blamed publicly for not identifying the breach early enough. Genevieve and hundreds of other consumers, moms, dads, college students, and retirees would lose money or worse from the breach, since they've got a lot of information about each of those customers. Thousands of customers would stop doing business with the bank. The breach would make front page headlines in the coming week. The CEO would address the issue and try to earn back consumer confidence with an expensive public relations campaign. He would only last another quarter before being asked to step down by the company's stakeholders. And so we talk about those consequences. Do those seem realistic? How do we handle those kind of things? If we have a breach. We may also talk about other instances that students have learned about for breaches, and was it handled well or was it not handled well? How could you have done it differently? So we would discuss those things. That would be part of our discussion for the case studies. And this is just one example of a case study. And so we want feedback. So again, are there questions or anyone interested in helping? So what do we need? We need some competition designers and builders. And more, we're looking to insert some of our professionalism and ethics into existing competitions. We are working with some of the existing competitions to add kind of a challenge that might come about in those competitions. More case studies that pertain to ethical and professional challenges within cybersecurity. Our faculty that teach those courses have been developing them for several years. And so we're sharing some of those out. And if you have some that you'd like to include, we would be happy to see that. Any supplemental material that helps students understand concepts and principles within, cybersecurity ethics and professionalism, where we would be thrilled to see what you may have. Workshops that you build. And by the way, those of you that are CAE schools, sharing curriculum is part of your outreach. You're sharing with other CAE schools or even schools that are outside the CAE. Participating in NCyTE, that's part of your participation, and sharing the material would actually be supporting other CAE schools. So it's a different category. And I don't have those memorized, but it's in section 9. So if you're renewing or redesignating, this could help you out. Workshops that you built and don't mind sharing that builds professionalism and ethical skills. within students, and any other suggestions that you might have. So this has been kind of part of our projects that we've been working on since 2020, and have pulled together a lot of different resources. I said the book has been a really interesting process, and Ed Scotus from SANS Institute has graciously agreed to provide the cyber expertise, and our president, President Maurer, has learned cyber over the course of the last few years, and has been a real proponent of cybersecurity education. So, especially the CAE. Any questions? So there's our contact information, and then the cybersecurity oath is also available here. And Thomas shared the link earlier for the student professionalism, student code of ethics and professional conduct.
Kelly, I think you raised a really good point about how important this is, but it's also a way for CAE institutions, because that's part of us. We're plugging that to make a contribution. So you think you're suggesting that if there's additional case studies that people have run across, or situations that they have, that could also be added to the curriculum or the body of work that you've already completed? Absolutely. So it could be added to this. We have, I believe someone asked, where can you get this? So we have, we've added most of the professionalism curriculum to Clark.Center. So that's one mechanism. And we also will be having a website that's being developed to include all of the materials that we have as part of the toolkit, so that it's easier to share with everyone. So it's an ongoing process, and we're keep adding to our toolkit. It has been interesting to see all the things we have. One of the things that I think Thomas mentioned but didn't really talk about in depth was some career videos that we've got. And did you share those links, Thomas?
That's right.
Okay, so we have links to those, the career videos. So they're early career professionals who were interviewed. And so it's kind of give students a day in the life. How did they get there? And what kinds of things do they do every day? And what kind of advice do they have for students who are looking to get into the field, or who are looking to become a network security engineer or network security analyst? So lots of different job titles, and may also help them understand some of those job titles and roles that they may be interested in. And I saw there was an earlier question, you responded to that, but you're developing a website to house all the materials. Well, how will we find out about that when that's ready to go? Because that's going to be something I'm sure that's going to be updated. Yeah, absolutely. When that's ready to go, so it will be shared out on the CAE community website. So with all those resources, we do have links there, and we'll have new links as we are developing more things. Right now, it feels like there's a lot of things coming together. We've had a lot of balls in the air, and a lot of things are getting finalized. And so we're working towards having a lot of that available early next year, so that we have the resources in kind of a one-stop shop, or at least links to various resources that are available. So we'll send that out through the CAE community, through the Careers Preparation National Center on that page, and the CAE community should send it out probably in their email that you get if you're a CAE school. And we can also send it to you, Mike, and you can forward it on too. Yeah, you do a newsletter, so we'll share it with your newsletter. Let everybody know when it becomes available. I'll send it out to everybody on the who's been participated today. I see a question just came through. Can you use these with other disciplines? Yes, you could. Definitely. Our professionalism materials, the course that we have is specific to cyber majors, but a lot of the content is cross utilized in most of our students have an internship. So before they do an internship, they take a career readiness course. And so most of it is used across. There might be a few exercises that have a cyber slant to them, but they could definitely be used with other majors to discuss ethics and professionalism, because that's pretty standard. We used some NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers. A lot of their specific employment standards that they see that in what we've used to call soft skills, and I know people are coming up with lots of different terminology for that. And so what we used to call soft skills, and the students' professionalism and how they behave outside of their technical skills or outside of their area of expertise in the workforce really helps them get that job and helps them keep it, so that they can demonstrate the worth to the employer. And so those were things that we used. You'll also see some of our kind of our categories with Thomas mentioned the competencies. We're kind of cross working with the competencies group that's part of the careers National Preparation Center. And you'll be hearing about competencies, especially those of you that are CAE schools. It's going to be part of the redesignation process. And so the kind of the employability factors have come out of our grant work. So that's the ABCDE framework. If you're familiar with it, if you're not, you'll be hearing about it. So the E is employability, and a lot of those are things that came out of our grant work. So where can I find the professional materials? So I know we've submitted all of the materials to Clark.Center. I do not know. I do not know if they are available, if they have been released. All of the materials that are submitted to Clark are reviewed. And in September, when we were at the National Cyber Education Colloquium, the update was that they had a pretty big backlog of materials that they were reviewing. So I don't know if it's actually been released yet. There are some things there that, yeah, it may still be under review. Sorry, we'll send out an update as soon as it's been released. We were hoping it would be done by now, but I understand backlogs comes every midterm and every final.
Each playbook and
A data breach playbook. Is there a data breach playbook included in the curriculum? What to do when breach occurs? I don't know that we have that in this specific curriculum. We have a separate kind of an instant response course where we would include that for our students. If you're interested, email me and I can help you find that. I'm sure we have something, but it's not necessarily part of this project. Is this program under production or still in draft? So we are, it's been taught at Montreat for several years, and all of that curriculum has been included. We have shared it with some of our partners. We have a partner group in North Carolina called the Carolina Cyber Center and Carolina Cyber Network. So we've shared it with them and kind of cross-pollinated and got responses back. We hope that you will be able to give us some responses back. That would be great. Presenting at InfraGard next month on ethics. Is it acceptable to bring up this site and program? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it's available. It's been developed through National Center of Academic Excellence grant funding. And so we want to share it out there to anyone who would be interested in using it. So I'll definitely keep Mike in the loop when we get more information. We've decided that that's part of the reason we're developing a website, is that we realized that if we had materials that we wanted to share, we could simply update it to our website and share the web address through Clark so that they could have access to all of our toolkit rather than having to upload all of that material to Clark and have it reviewed. So it would avoid a little bit of the bottleneck that we're seeing. So that's what we're doing right now. We're taking a little bit of a different approach and hope to have that up and running early next year. Any other questions?
Well, just to remind everybody that we are recording the session, and I'll be sending out a follow-up email with some of the links. We already have some of the information and links on the NCyTE website. If you go to the membership page, you can look at actually all of the today's presentation and all the past presentations on that webpage, and download materials, see the links. I don't have everything up for today's presentation, but we'll in the next couple of days. We don't have any more questions. I guess we can put this, we can wrap it up a little early today. Please fill out, I'm going to share the link. I just put a link in the chat, but we do have a survey that we ask everybody to fill out. It's just a short, survey to let us know how we did today, but also to tell us about future topics that you might want to hear about, or even if you're interested in presenting. If you're interested in presenting, you have a topic, please let me know. We'd love to put some, consider what you have and see, how that works into our schedule. We do this once a month, and I appreciate everybody who came out today. And I know I don't want to rush things along. If there are more questions, please, put those in the chat. If you've thought of something since I started talking, go ahead and ask that question now.
Hi, I don't see the October meeting on the survey form.
Well, that is a problem. I'll have to talk to it's not on there. I thought I checked that. Sorry about that. I'll have to ask the evaluator to link that in. I'll send everybody, it'll be evaluated. When it's updated, I'll send everybody a link. Thanks for letting me know, Edward. So I guess you're off the hook for the survey for today. Well, everybody, if we don't have any more questions, thank you again, and we will we'll post the November's meeting. We don't have one for December, but the information for that will be coming pretty soon. It's going to be something about SOC. Thank you, Thomas and Kelly, for a presentation today. We really appreciate it. It's nice meeting you in person at NCAE-C as well. So I'm glad. It's always fun to see people in person and see them again wherever. All right, everybody, have a great day, great weekend. Thank you again for attending.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.